Wake up, little Hulk. Wake up, because every time you go to the gym to train legs, it looks like you're visiting a distant relative in the hospital. You look like you're suffering, lifting weights like a child, and performing like someone afraid of growing up. You say you train legs, but in practice you just passes through the leg area like a tourist taking a picture and leaving. Hulk All Buff is here to tell you the naked truth. Your legs don't grow because you treat them like a secondary, weak, poorly executed and cowardly workout. The first fatal mistake is this: train your legs like you would your arms, with the same lax mentality, the same haste, and the same lack of respect. You pump your arms, take a picture, and leave happy. Not your legs. Legs are a tax. Legs are a bill. Leg training is what separates the man from the emotional legging-wearing Hulk. And when you try to apply the logic of biceps exercises to squats, the result is obvious: skinny thighs and non-existent glutes. Let's talk about physiology without the frills. Legs concentrate the major muscle groups in the body: quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, adductors. This means greater neural demand, greater systemic stress, and greater potential for hormonal release. But what do? You go in, do 3 half-hearted sets, rest little, use ridiculous weight, perform poorly, and leave saying, legs are hard. Not hard, little guy. What's hard is growing by doing everything wrong. When you train your legs incorrectly, you not only fail to grow your legs, you sabotages the entire body. Heavy leg training increases testosterone and GH release, activates the central nervous system, and creates real adaptation. But this only happens when the workout is for men, not when it's a TikTok fitness workout with cute music. A shallow squat isn't a squat. It's an incomplete prayer. Here's a metaphor to see if it sinks into that soft head. Training weak legs is like trying to boil water with a lighter. You might heat it up a little, but it never gets to the right point. The result? Zero growth, zero real stimulus, zero respect for your own body. The body understands everything. It knows when you're faking the effort. Now let's get to the practical solution, because Hulk doesn't just scream. First rule: leg exercises require time and dedicated focus. Leg training isn't about just going to fit it in quickly. It's a dedicated session. It's about arriving knowing you're going to leave exhausted. Second rule: progressive loading of truth. It's not ego lifting, but it's also not perpetual heating load. If your load doesn't increase over the weeks, your leg has no reason to grow. Third rule: deep and controlled execution. Squat below parallel. Leg press with maximum range of motion. Hack squat machine without shortening the movement because it burns. Of course it burns, you little pink Hulk. Burning is the sign that you've finally stepped out of your comfort zone. And here comes the part that hurts the ego. You're going to have to accept that training legs is more tiring. It requires more rest and more food. You can't train legs hard, sleeping only 5 hours and eating like a bird. Legs drain energy, and a real man understands that growth requires paying the price. In this emotional escalation, let me remind you of something. There's no such thing as a respectable physique with weak legs. A large torso on thin legs is a caricature. It's a roadside inflatable doll. It's apparent strength without a foundation. Even a buff Hulk doesn't respect an unbalanced physique. Neither does the world. So decide now. Are you going to continue training legs as if they were arms, pretending you're doing it? Or are you going to commit to training like a man? Because legs don't lie. They deliver exactly the effort you put in. Close this in your head. Strong legs build a strong man, and if you run away from that, you'll just remain another little Hulk in a baggy t-shirt trying to hide your weakness. Come closer, little Gym Hulk. Let's talk seriously now. If every time you choose the weight for your leg workout, you're thinking, this one's manageable, you've already started wrong. That's not technique. That's fear disguised as intelligence. The second fatal mistake that destroys your legs is using child-sized weights and calling it conscious training. A buff Hulk can see this from a mile away and already knows. There's testosterone mixed with trauma involved. You approach the squat as if you're crossing a minefield. You look at the bar, Look in the mirror, look to the side, put on a weight that doesn't scare anyone and say, "Today, I'm going to focus on execution." Execution without stimulus is contemporary dance. Muscle grows with real mechanical tension, not with pampering. Legs don't understand pretty speeches. They understand weight, effort, and discomfort. Let's keep the science simple, because Hulk doesn't write theses. Hypertrophy happens when the muscle suffers enough micro-tears that it needs to adapt. This requires progressive tension. If the load doesn't challenge you, your body won't respond. And when you spend months using the same weight to feel the muscle, your body has already adapted long ago. You're not training, you're maintaining. Now comes the psychological aspect, because legs are more about the mind than the muscle. Heavy squats are scary because they affect everything: breathing, balance, spine, ego. And the average guy avoids that. He prefers comfort to progress. He prefers to leave the workout feeling fine rather than actually growing. And then he complains that his legs don't respond. Of course they don't respond. You never demanded anything from them. The metaphor is simple. Using light weights, thinking it will make your legs grow, is like trying to get rich by saving pennies while refusing to earn more. It doesn't add up. You need a big stimulus for a big muscle. Legs are survival muscles, built to withstand load, impact, and body weight. If you don't impose that, they stay the way they are, weak and lacking volume. Now, listen up, because a buff Hulk doesn't mean he's stupid. I'm not saying he should become an imbecile who puts on too much weight and does everything wrong. That's a different kind of Hulk, the show-off Hulk. What I'm talking about is challenging workload with decent execution, not perfect. Execution that is too perfect usually means insufficient load. Let's get to the practical solution. Write it down with your brain and not your ego. First, learn to differentiate between discomfort and danger. Burning, trembling, and shortness of breath are normal during heavy leg training. Acute joint pain is not. Second, work within realistic effort ranges. The final repetitions should be slow, ugly, and difficult. If you finish the set chatting, you've failed as a man and as an athlete. Third, progress the load or repetitions every week. It's not always possible to increase weight, but you can increase volume, control, or intensity. If nothing increases, you've stagnated. Fourth, use basic exercises as a foundation of truth. Squats, leg press, deadlifts, hack squats. If your leg workout starts and ends with leg extensions, you've already lost the Hulk's respect. In the realm of emotional escalation, let me remind you of something you try to forget. Nobody grows in their comfort zone. The comfort zone is comfortable, but it's small, and small legs come precisely from there. You don't need to enjoy heavy loads. You need respect the process. Even a buff Hulk doesn't wake up happy every day to smash legs, but he goes ahead and does it. Now comes the painful truth. As long as you continue training with fear, your body will remain small. The body follows clear orders. If the order is, "Don't hurt me," it obeys by becoming weak. If the order is, "Make me stronger," it responds by growing. It's that simple. Closing point to remember. Technique without intensity is just an excuse for Hulk. Want impressive legs? Accept the weight, face the discomfort, and stop pretending you're training. Wake up again, impatient Hulk. If your leg workout feels like a race against the clock, something's already wrong. The second fatal mistake is treating legs like a punishment that needs to end quickly. You go to the gym with the same mentality as someone who wants to pay a fine. You do the bare minimum, complain the whole time, and run out. A buff Hulk looks at this and already knows. Small legs are born from haste. You train chest calmly, chatting between sets, adjusting the music, choosing your angle. But when leg day arrives, you turn into a rat fleeing the lab. Rest periods too short, sets rushed, execution hurried. It feels like the muscle will bite you if you stay there any longer. And then you still wonder why your legs aren't growing. Growing how, you little grumpy Hulk? Let's put the science on the academic floor. Muscle grows with time under tension, mechanical stress, and accumulated fatigue. The leg, being a large muscle group, needs more rest time between sets, no less. When you rest too little, you're not being intense, you're being inefficient. Your nervous system doesn't recover, your strength drops, and the stimulus becomes useless. The metaphor is simple. Training legs in a hurry is like trying to grill a barbecue over too high a flame. It burns on the outside, remains raw on the inside. You feel a burning sensation, you sweat, you think you trained, but the real stimulus didn't happen. The muscle didn't even have time to produce force properly. It just accumulated useless fatigue. Now comes the truth that hurts the ego of the modern-day Hulk. Getting enough rest is not a sign of weakness. It's strategy. A buff Hulk rests because he wants to lift more weight in the next set. You rest little because you want to leave quickly. And this difference in mentality shows in the mirror, not in speeches. Leg training demands presence. It demands focus. It demands accepting that the day will take longer. If you go in already thinking about the end of the workout, your body notices. The body understands intention. Weak intention generates weak results. Legs don't respond to those who want to finish quickly. Let's get to the practical solutions, because yelling without teaching is something a frustrated Hulk would do. First, adjust the rest. Compound leg exercises require 2 to 3 minutes of real rest. This doesn't mean fiddling with your phone. It means breathing, lowering your heart rate, and preparing for the next impact. Second, reduce unnecessary volume and increase quality. Fewer exercises, more well-executed sets with total focus. Third, control the rhythm of the repetitions. Lower with control, rise with force. When you rush the movement, you rob the muscle of the time under tension necessary to grow. Fourth, organize your training so it doesn't turn into escapism. Start with the heaviest exercise while you're still in good shape. If you leave the squats for last, you're already defeated. In this emotional escalation, let me remind you of something you pretend not to know. Nobody respects those who run away from discomfort, neither the body nor the mind. Training legs in a hurry is a reflection of a rushed, anxious, and undisciplined life. And until you learn to stay where it hurts, you won't evolve at all. Hulk, even when he's muscular, doesn't shy away from leg day workouts. He goes in knowing he's going to suffer and accepts it as part of the process. It's not about liking it, it's about commitment, and commitment requires time, not haste. A closing statement to hammer into your empty head: legs don't grow when you're running around. If you want impressive legs, learn to stay still. Stay still during rest, stay still during discomfort, and stay still during the process. Those who run too much grow too little. Listen up, you nearsighted gym rat. If your leg workout is basically leg extensions, leg presses, and more leg extensions, you're not training legs. You're training legs. The front of the leg, and abandons everything else like an absent father. The third fatal mistake is ignoring hamstrings and glutes as if they were optional. A buff Hulk calls this a muscle crime. You look in the mirror and think your legs are just your quadriceps because that's what you see from the front. But the body doesn't function in selfies. It works as a chain. Hamstrings and glutes are engines of strength, stability, and power. When you ignore these muscles, you not only hinder the growth of your entire leg, but also turn your body into a walking biomechanical contraption. Let's simplify the science before your brain goes into airplane mode. The gluteus maximus is the largest muscle in the human body. The hamstrings work alongside it in virtually every heavy movement: squatting, lifting, running, jumping. When they are weak, the quadriceps try to compensate. The result? Knee pain, poor form, and crippled strength. Your body goes into survival mode, not growth mode. The metaphor here is obvious. Training legs without training hamstrings and glutes is like building a house with only the facade. Pretty from the front, rotten from the back. You might fool a layman, but the first real effort will bring it all down. A buff Hulk doesn't build a facade, he builds a foundation. Now let's talk about the real reason for this mistake, because it's not ignorance. It's laziness and fear. Posterior and glute exercises are uncomfortable, require coordination, and don't give you an immediate pump for photos. Stiff leg deadlifts, heavy leg curls, lunges, step-ups, all of that comes at a high price, and the medium weight hamstring curl is an exception to that. Furthermore, there's a hidden fear. Truly activating the glutes requires load and body awareness. It's not just about pushing weights, it's about controlling the hips, spine, and breathing. And that scares those who have always trained automatically. So the easiest solution is to pretend that the glutes will grow on their own. Spoiler alert, they won't. Let's get to the practical solutions before you go back to the extension machine. First, every leg workout needs to prioritize hamstrings and glutes, not as an add-on. If you leave it until the end, when you're tired, you've already made a mistake. Second, use hip hinge movements. Stiff Romanian deadlift, good morning. They teach your body to generate real strength. Third, work on knee flexion with progressive overload. The leg curl machine isn't just a perpetual warm-up exercise. You can progress with weight, control the descent, and challenge the muscle. Fourth, include unilateral exercises. Advance, step, Bulgarian press. They expose weaknesses that bilateral exercises hide and activate the glutes like nothing else. Now hold on to this truth. Strong glutes improve everything. Squats go up, posture improves, your knees will thank you, and testosterone responds better to heavy training. A strong body starts from the back, not the front. And when the posterior starts to grow, the entire leg changes shape. It becomes dense, wide, and solid. It stops looking like a stick figure with decorations. In this emotional escalation, let me be clear, as long as you continue to ignore your hamstrings and glutes, you will remain limited. Limited in load, limited in aesthetics, limited as a training partner. There are no shortcuts here. Either you face the discomfort of these exercises, or you accept being mediocre forever. A buff Hulk doesn't compromise with weakness. He faces it head-on. He knows that what hurts the most is usually what transforms the most, and hamstrings and glutes hurt because they awaken muscles you've left dormant for years. Closure to tattoo in the mind. A strong leg is born from behind. If you keep training only what you see in the mirror, it will remain just appearance. Want impressive legs? Stop avoiding the core of your workout and start building a real foundation. Now hold on tight, little Hulk gym survivor, because the last fatal mistake isn't just in your workout, it's in your whole life. You want big legs, but you sleep poorly, eat little, and live stressed. You want Hulk-like results with a zombie routine. The fourth fatal mistake is thinking that legs only grow inside the gym, when in reality they grow outside of it. You train hard, leave feeling proud, but spend the rest of the day living on coffee, anxiety, and your phone until the early hours. You sleep 5 hours, wake up exhausted, and still wonder why you're not progressing. A buff Hulk looks at this and laughs. Because muscle doesn't grow during training. It grows when you rest, eat, and recover. Training is the order. Recovery is the delivery. Let's simplify the science so there's no excuse. When you train legs heavily, you generate muscle micro-tears and enormous stress on the nervous system. To repair this, your body needs calories, protein, and deep sleep. Without this, the body goes into economy mode. Instead of building muscle, it tries to survive. The result? Legs don't grow, strength doesn't increase, and you're constantly tired. The metaphor here is simple. Training legs without eating and sleeping properly is like trying to build a building without cement. You can stack bricks all day, but it will all collapse. And the worst part is that you still blame the training, the exercise, or genetics, when the problem is your disorganized, chaotic routine. Now let's talk about testosterone, because you like that word. Lack of sleep increases cortisol. High cortisol lowers testosterone. Low testosterone means poor recovery, less strength and less growth. Simple. It's not magic. It's physiology. A muscular Hulk sleeps because he wants to grow. A weak Hulk sleeps little because he wants to watch another useless video. Food is another point you treat as a minor detail. Leg training requires energy, it requires glycogen, it requires enough protein to rebuild large muscle fibers. When you eat like you're on a perpetual diet, your body understands that it can't grow. It's not stupid, it responds to the environment. A poor environment creates a poor body. Now for the practical solutions, because there's still time to save this shape. First, prioritize sleep 7 to 8 hours. Dark room, cell phone far away, fixed routine. No sleep, everything else is just a charade. Second, eat like you're really training your legs. Carbohydrates before training, sufficient protein throughout the day, calories aligned with your goal. You can't grow in a perpetual deficit. Third, respect the rest periods between leg workouts. It's not every day. Heavy legs need real recovery. Training when you're exhausted isn't discipline, it's stupidity. Fourth, manage stress outside the gym. Constant stress keeps cortisol levels high and hinders growth. Heavy training is already stressful enough. In this emotional escalation, let me tell you something that maybe no one has ever said to your face. You're not weak because you don't grow. You are disorganized. And until he gets his sleep, food, and routine right, he'll keep going in circles. A buff Hulk isn't just strong in training, he's disciplined in life. This is the ultimate mistake because it negates all the other successes. You can train well, use weights, focus on your hamstrings. If you don't sleep and don't eat, nothing will hold up. A strong body is the result of a well-structured system. A bad system generates bad results. Final closing remarks to wrap up this script as a man. Big legs demand respect 24 hours a day. It's not just in training, it's in bed, in the kitchen, and in your daily choices. Either you live like the Hulk and grow, or you live like the Hulk and complain. The decision is yours.